a really nice Bitcoin daily chart, especially this previous Bitcoin daily candle. It just closed just above the 50-day moving average. We're going to talk about that in this video. We're going to kind of zoom out in the midterm, talk about a pattern setting up, and we're going to really zoom out and talk about really nice targets. I'm talking about 100,000 plus targets to the upside. So please hit the subscribe, hit the like. Let's jump into this video. I'm going to dig into the charts. There's the daily chart we're going to talk about. Here's the weekly chart. I'm excited to talk about this, namely the 20-week moving average being tested right now. But I want to start with something. President Donald J. Trump speaking at Bitcoin 2024, Bitcoin conference. Here's the Bitcoin conference account posting this. What happened today, I just want to briefly go over because this is playing into this momentum shift that I've been talking about. So we have Donald Trump, who very well could be the next president of the United States. Once again, pro-crypto, building a pro-crypto army. We've covered that. But today he picked his vice president. That is JD Vance. And I just came across this video a little bit ago. This was posted only like 4 hours ago or so. I wanted to show you a brief clip of JD Vance because I want to let's get his little take on crypto briefly.
In some ways, the more fundamental issue, or at least the most relevant issue for this particular conference is the approach that Gary has taken to regulating blockchain.
And by the way, he's talking about Gary Gensler.
Blockchain and crypto seems to be almost the exact opposite of what it should be. And I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but the question the SEC seems to ask in regulating crypto.
So basically, what he just said in a matter of seconds is, everything that SEC and crypto and Gary Gensler should be doing, they're doing the opposite, meaning they're doing everything wrong. That alone plays exactly into what I've been saying. They're on the wrong side of the law. And then check this other piece of the video, this clip.
A lot of the newest challengers to social media, the social media incumbents of 2024, are going to require some blockchain technology to make their business work. Maybe they'll require a token that supports verification. There are all of these ways in which the companies,
I don't think you can get more bullish than that. I don't think you could get a more bullish ticket than what we have right now. Donald Trump, JD Vance, building a pro-crypto army. And if you can just picture them in the White House, I got to put it in the thumbnail, just a bullish looking White House. And this is where things are going. And this is one piece of data, right? This talking point. There are so many other things happening. And I've been going over charting data, on-chain metrics data, just in general, just crypto. All these things playing into this crypto storm that's been brewing. When we start zooming out on the macro, zooming out on what's going on with total crypto market cap of total crypto, right? Can it go higher? How high can it go? We talk about these things. We have massive macro events happening that are good, that are bullish, that I think will have a massive impact on this macro chart. It's very simple. And when I say this, I'm saying macro, macro, macro a lot because this is macro. This is zoomed out. We're talking multi-year is what this is. And so Bitcoin halving just happened back in April, like right here. I should have the line. And this is a monthly chart. Where we are in this cycle on the macro is really good with all of these things that are happening. I just want to say that. So I wanted to show that clip of JD Vance because this is new. This is a new piece of data playing into narratives, and that's what this is. Let's go over the weekly, and then we're going to pivot to the daily, and we'll start kind of digging into price, shorter term price action. First thing I want to point out on the weekly, and then we're going to talk about some ridiculous targets, is this. This 20-week moving average is a really big deal, and Bitcoin is there right now, just below it. 20-week moving average around 65,500 or so. Bitcoin's like $1,000 or so below that area, not even. The reason why it's such a big area is because the one thing that we can note very clearly by just zooming out on the Bitcoin weekly chart, and I take historical data very seriously, right? So if we look at historical data, look at last cycle after the Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin managed to stay above the 20-week moving average pretty much the entire bull market. What we want to see is it just hovering above that 20-week moving average, parabolic moves, right? And then even the cycle before that, if we go look, Bitcoin It tested the 20-week moving average after the Bitcoin halving of 2016. It tested it multiple times, many times, but just incredible bullish support over and over and over again. Now, I pay attention to the fact that this cycle, in a very kind of different way than previous two cycles, Bitcoin broke below the 20-week moving average. Now, that's one indicator, right? And so that's why I've been tracking all of the other indicators that have been kind of saying a different thing. It could look a little bit scary or intimidating or bearish when we're getting a move like that on a weekly chart, right? Especially when it's looking like this crazy top, a double top compared to what we just saw pre-halving, or even like this triple top, right? There's all this talk. That could look scary, but there's so many other pieces of data, and this is why I look at so many different indicators, on-chain metrics, that are saying otherwise, right? So that's why I really wasn't immediately concerned at all with the 20-week moving average breaking to the downside. The 50-week moving average, which is very confluent with this long-term bullish bull door area that I guess we can call it. That's a swing high of a bull market to swing low of a bear market. It's the Fibonacci retracement. It's the bull market doors, as I call them. So retracing to this area in general, just a really normal move that we wanted to see for Bitcoin, and it made the move, and we bounced off of it so far. Now, that's really the support I've been looking at. The 50-week moving average, those bull market doors, and that goes down to around $48,000. Bitcoin managed to not even dip that low. So that's the first thing. But what I do want to say is getting back above the 20-week moving average right now, I would say that's important. And I'm curious of what that journey might look like, especially as Bitcoin is just below the 20-week moving average right now. We're talking very close to it, and we have 5 days, 23 hours left of this weekly candle. How's this weekly candle going to close? Are we going to be back above it? Is it going to be rejected? Are we going to get above it and then close below it with some type of crazy looking, ugly candle of resistance? What is it going to look like? That's what I'm watching this week. I'm very curious. If it doesn't break this week above it, that's fine. But ultimately, even if we come back down and we put in a double bottom on the weekly, ultimately, I'm waiting to get back above this 20-week moving average and really get some separation from it. And separation at this point from that 20-week moving average basically means breaking all-time high. And that's what we're going to talk about on the daily chart as we start digging in. But before we do, I do want to just point this out. There's a lot of people talking about this, but this cup and handle that is here, even we have this decreasing volume at the bottom of the screen, you can see in the formation of this potential handle. We have a couple of targets I just want to put out there. I think it's good to get this data out there on the monthly or on the weekly chart because of where we are in the cycle. And that is to say, if we get a repeat of previous cycles, listen, we're all hoping this happens. I say time and time again, there's no guarantee. The consistencies of these cycles will play out. There's no guarantee. But let's face it, every halving, post-halving, crypto has gone parabolic. This Bitcoin chart has gone parabolic. So it's a good time to talk about this pattern because if it happens again, these targets are just very much in play. And it kind of depends how you're going to measure this, right? There's different ways to measure this. You can do a measured move where you just simply are just like measuring the swing low of this cup area to that swing high area. You're measuring it, and it's like we're in the $250,000 range. A lot of people doing that. Then we have another way you measure the price, a price move, right? And so in that case, we're looking at around $120,000 target. So 250, 120. It's just an interesting pattern to track. And there's going to be probably other patterns we can zoom out on and look at. There's probably other targets above $100,000 that we can look at, but this is one. And I think it gives a general range of 120 to 200, 250. I'm not in the camp that is saying this cycle, Bitcoin's going to 250. I just want to say that right off the bat. I'm not in that camp. I haven't done a price prediction video. I probably should at this point, but I think in general, the 120 up to that range is a realistic area for Bitcoin in this bull cycle to make its way to. And whether or not that happens, we'll be tracking it. So I wanted to point that out on the zoomed out, but I digress from that. We can zoom in on the charts a little bit and just talk about what's been happening. So Bitcoin's been consolidating, obviously, since back here in March. It's been months of consolidation on the daily. You could just see it. And I always like to just open up the RSI just because it gives a really nice visualization of how much Bitcoin has cooled down in that time frame. So it hit oversold, ready to start moving back to the upside, and the move seemingly has begun, right? But there's some things I think we should be careful of, and obviously bullish areas we can watch out for. The first very short-term one is the fact that Bitcoin broke back above the 50-day moving average, that blue line. Last time Bitcoin did that in an upward move was all the way back here, mid-May. So we're talking about 2 months ago, and then we fell all the way back down, and now we're just breaking back above the 50. So that's a big deal. But if we start zooming out, we start getting some context to maybe volatility that could be in play here. And that is to say, yes, we want to see Bitcoin keep going. And we have this kind of channel that Bitcoin is in. Upper trend line is up here around 70,000. We want to see Bitcoin straight to it, get to it and break above it. We have a target to the upside, like close to 90,000. Just do it. But rarely do we ever see that. We get a bounce off the lower trend line, and then it's just straight to the target, right? Like rarely does that happen. Oftentimes it's way more volatile. So that could look like maybe we do make a little bit more move to the upside, and then we're coming back down. We need to test the 50-day moving average for support, or even just come back down and test the 20-day moving average, right? To flip it, right? And then we'll start making the move to the upper trend line all the way here in like mid-August. This could be another month before Bitcoin even gets to 70,000. I don't know. Or it could happen in the next 2 days. But that's really what I'm looking for. Can Bitcoin get the strength to make the move to this upper region? And maybe a more important question to answer would be, can Bitcoin start seeing support above these moving averages now that it's above all of them? Because it is. It's now above the 50, the 20, and the 200. If we zoom out on the chart, I want to show you something. Let's zoom out and look at Bitcoin exiting oversold last time it happened. So we just exited oversold. Last time it happened, exiting oversold, we're talking about 2023, summer of 2023, August 2023. And look at Bitcoin price, right? Just, it's as it's exiting, you can see it exiting. There's still just a lot of just messing around and testing these moving averages. And this can happen in many different ways, but that's why I talk about those moving averages being so important. And then when we get into this environment where Bitcoin's really starting to escape, and you can start seeing it on the RSI over here, starting to escape, what's happening? There's separation of the moving averages, and there's support above the 20-day moving average. And that's really what we want to see ultimately, right? And that is to say, we want to see the green line. Let me zoom in because I know I'm getting zoomed out. We want to see this green line make its way above the blue line. That's what we want to see. And then we want to see Bitcoin hovering above that green line, the 20-day moving average. And then we can start really talking about the $90,000 target out of that broad, or that, I guess should say, rising wedge, kind of like a broadening wedge. If I go back to very simple illustration, and I look at last cycle in the bull market, here's a daily chart. Look at Bitcoin, how it operates above that 20-day moving average. Just look at that. It's crazy to see these moves, but that's what we're looking at. Support above the 50, support above the 20, and that's what we'll be waiting for. But that shift needs to happen on this daily chart. And, all we can do is just sit here kind of day after day and just track key moves happening. So the first key move that has happened now is the move above the 50-day moving average. And then we'll monitor to see if we can make that next move, a power move, towards $70,000 on this Bitcoin chart. So this is what I'm watching in terms of Bitcoin, crypto markets in general, everybody. There's going to be dips. There's going to be volatility. There's going to be times where we need to test key moving averages, and those could be the dips. But I just think we're in a really macro bullish environment right now, and I'm here tracking it. That's all this is. This is just my opinion, how I see things. Let's continue tracking it. I appreciate you watching. Hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Turn notifications on. Be notified. Crypto news, Bitcoin charts, crypto charts, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.